Hey there, we're Shannon and Jerry Arner, your hosts of the Arner Adventures podcast.
We're a minimalist couple driven by intentional living and adventure.
Burned out from the 24/7 grind of running our business, we traded the hustle and the bustle for something more meaningful.
We parted ways with most of our belongings and moved to the coast.
Listen along as we chat about life's challenges, share inspiring stories of those who have taken big leaps to live a life outside of the norm,
and help you live with more intention and less physical and mental clutter.
Each episode is a step toward doing and being just a little bit better for ourselves and the world around us.
Life's an adventure after all. Join us for the ride.
It's the Arner Adventures podcast.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Jerry.
We are back for episode 144 of the Arner Adventures podcast.
144, healthy fear versus unhealthy fear.
That's right. So you probably either found us because you saw the topic and you were like, wow, what a great topic to dive into, or you're a loyal listener. We appreciate you either way. Before we dive into today's topic, if you would please take a moment and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to us on, we would really, really appreciate it. And if you are a loyal listener and have not given us a 5-star review or rating, please do that. It really helps us. And it also, other people will find us because that you have done that. So it really, really helps us out a lot. Well, today, as we're recording this, is the autumn equinox. It's the first official day of fall. And so we're really excited about it. And with that comes a new season, sort of a new way of looking at things. And one of the topics that Jerry and I talk about a lot and has come up a lot lately is fear. And, we just wanted to dive more into our experience with it and the things that we have learned, whether it be through therapy or things that we read or any of that. So anytime we feel like that there's something that we've learned that is beneficial, we of course want to share it.
That's right.
So, living an adventurous life doesn't mean we're fearless. Everyone has fear. One of the things that we are always struggling with is managing our fear.
Yeah, that's right, Shannon. Today we're gonna take a deep dive into this, and because most of us avoid talking about it.
Yep,
Fear.
And it's not just the spooky Halloween kind. We kind of like that, the ghost adventure sphere.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, I'm still running away from like Ronald McDonald as a child. So there are things that maybe healthy fears, fun fears, and maybe some unhealthy fears. And so we're going to talk about all of that too.
Yeah, like if you're jumping into a new project, moving somewhere new, or just trying to get out of your comfort zone, fear is part of the package.
Yep. And this is really personal for me. So in 2023, when I was sort of making a new intention for the new year, I had been pointed out by people in my life that I was constantly saying, well, I'm scared of that, or I'm scared that this is going to happen, or that scares me. And when I started becoming more mindful about that internal dialogue and how I was saying it a lot, I made a mindful decision. Okay, going into 2023, I'm not going to say I'm scared of, or at least be more mindful of if there is a fear in something, am I really fearful of it, or what does that mean? And so it sort of pointed out to me how often I at least say it. And so getting into the topic at hand, fear, it's something we've all felt. So whether it's that heart racing moment before a big decision, like you said, Jer, or the dread of trying something new, the real question is, why do we feel it? And is it always bad?
That is right. That is the question. And fear gets a bad rap. It's hardwired into us for a reason. It keeps us from doing really silly things, like trying to high five a bear or swimming in a hurricane. It's the brain's way of saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that.
It reminds me, it's a survival mode thing. It reminds me of when my mom and I went, we were in Tennessee, and there was they called it a zip line adventure. But I'm going to tell you it was a little bit more than that. It was like a jumping off of platforms in the mountains where you can't see the ground, and you were free falling, but it was like this rope was sort of, you were tethered to this rope, and your body has a fear of jumping off of a platform where there's nothing below for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I kept telling the guy who was like responsible for making sure I was harnessed in. I'm like, my body does not want to jump off. My mind does not want to jump off of this. Like, I cannot convince myself to do this.
Yeah.
So some fear is helpful. Some fears protect us, right? But
Yeah.
there are some that try to hold us back, like irrational fears that keep us from living life to the fullest. And that's what we're going to sort of unpack today.
Yeah. 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 Healthy fear is like your bodyguard. It's got your back, keeps you out of danger. Unhealthy fear is the overprotective helicopter parent telling you you can't do it. It's too risky. It's fear that nags you even when the risk is really low.
Right. So let's break down the two types of fear, right? Should we do that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So healthy fear versus unhealthy fear. And let's start talking about what healthy fear is. Let's start with healthy fear.
Healthy fear. Okay. It protects us from real danger, like being cautious around wild animals, or being safe while you're traveling, or not taking reckless risks.
Yeah. Or like I said, fear of heights.
Yeah.
It might stop you from walking too close to the edge of a cliff. The type of fear that really prepares you for caution. It's like, as Oprah says, listening to your gut.
Yeah.
It's a survival tool. It keeps you, helps keep us, making the smart choices.
Unhealthy fear. What is it? How does it show up?
Well, unhealthy fear is often irrational or exaggerated, leading to avoidance or paralysis. I know a lot about this. It is what really feeds my anxiety. So a lot of times some examples are fear of failure. It can stop you from pursuing your dreams or trying new things, even though the risk is small. Now, let's not say even though the risk is small. Sometimes the risk is large, but there may be some decisions that kind of point you into, yes, this is the right decision, but fear might be keeping you away from it.
Yeah. So let's explore how unhealthy fear can spiral you into your anxiety. It's going to keep you stuck in your comfort zone, or keep you from living to your best.
Yeah. So you need to, unpack that. You need to talk about, like, we do a pros and cons list. And, when we're looking at fear, is this something that is smart or not? So how do you identify what fear you're dealing with? So that's the other thing, is you're scared of something, there's some fear, and you're like, well, how am I supposed to know? Like, is this a healthy fear, or is this an unhealthy fear? So when you feel fear creeping in, you have to ask yourself a few questions.
You do. Is this fear protecting me from real danger, or is it holding me back from growth?
Or what's the worst case scenario? And how likely is that to happen? I do that a lot.
Yeah.
What's worst case?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is worst case in this? And I try not to lead with negativity in situations, but the protective mode in my brain has to know the worst case scenario.
Yeah. And I get that. I think I do it too.
Yeah.
Can I prepare better to face this fear, or is it irrational?
Right. A lot of this reminds me of our decision to sell everything and move to the coast.
Yeah.
When people ask me about that, I'll often say, well, look, I don't recommend that to everyone. I mean, to us, was there fear there? Yes. For me, it was a healthy fear, because I was like, what is worst case scenario if I don't do it? If I don't do it, I might not be here next year, because physically and mentally I was drowning. Breakdown mode. We were not physically doing well.
Right.
And then what's worst case scenario if we move and it doesn't work out? Well, worst case is what? You move in with our parents. I mean, that's worst case.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we managed that really well. Again, we did all that very quickly. And the reason I think it was the right decision is because it all happened very quickly. Our house sold in a day, and we sold everything so easily, and we moved so easily, and found our 500 square foot tiny home. And all of the things just kind of lined up. Our community built because people were interested in this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so it worked out for us, and where that was a healthy fear, I think.
Yeah. I think you're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about some tips for embracing your healthy fear. Are you feeling overwhelmed by all the stuff piling up in your life? We've got something just for you. It's the Arner Ventures Declutter 365.
Declutter 365 is our easy to follow guide designed to help you clear out the clutter from every corner of your life. Whether it's the pile of stuff in your home, the endless digital files on your devices, or even the mental load that keeps you up at night, we've got you covered.
Every day, you tackle a simple task that helps you chip away at the clutter. And the best part? You can start anytime. There's no need to wait for the new year or a Monday. You can dive in whenever you're ready.
Over the span of a year, we'll tackle physical, mental, and digital clutter. Imagine having a more organized home, a cleaner inbox, and a calmer mind, all without feeling overwhelmed. It's all about taking small, manageable steps that add to big changes.
Join us on this journey to a simpler, more mindful life. Head over to arnerventures.com/shop.
Let's make space for what truly matters. And now, let's get back to the show.
Prepare for challenges, respect risks, but still just find a way to move forward.
Like when we sold our house
Yeah.
and all of our stuff and our business and moved forward.
It's what I call a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Uh-huh.
tips for overcoming unhealthy fear, practical things like exposure therapy, facing small fears first, mindfulness, or positive reframing of the situation. So, this is something that therapy can help with if you have a fear of flying, say.
Yeah.
Exposure therapy may help, but taking the small fears first, like, maybe go to a small airport and work with the person who runs the airport. Can I just sit in an airplane chair?
Yeah.
What can I do to be more mindful when I get on that flight? Now,
Uh-huh.
I will also tell you, like, not to again be down about this, but what happened in Gatlinburg with the sort of being in a situation where I was sort of forced to take that jump, or I couldn't get back to where I was,
Uh-huh.
is I think that situation made my fear of I have a fear of heights now where I didn't before.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I can
That's right.
fly, no problem, but
Uh-huh.
I have a fear of now, like the sky rail things, or the things when you go skiing and
Yeah.
I have a fear of that now.
Yeah, I got
So I don't know if exposure therapy would help. I don't know, but working with a therapist to help you overcome unhealthy fear is also really good.
Yeah, yeah. Here's a favorite of mine. I want to talk about breathing techniques
Mm.
and visualization. I like that too, but especially breathing techniques. Mantras are helpful when you're feeling fearful too. Yeah.
That reminds me of the conversation with Aster Haley
Mm-hmm.
and how the visualization and mantras and all of those things really helps with your confidence, the breathing techniques, and it helps reduce the anxiety, like so you can sleep better.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm sure there are plenty of those things on the Better Sleep app that also helps you work through things like anxiety. There actually are that aren't
Yeah.
necessarily geared towards sleep.
Yeah. Personal growth. I like this. The role of fear in that.
Yeah.
Fear is necessary for growth. That's for sure. It is an indication that you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone if you're feeling fearful.
Yeah.
You
And
have to feel fear.
And if you are looking at a situation where you're having fear about personal growth, maybe it's a new position, maybe it's a new family choice,
Yeah.
maybe it's having a child, maybe it's adopting a dog, anything that is moving you forward personally, acknowledging the fear is great, of course, because it's real,
Mm-hmm.
but don't let it control you.
Right.
So, this maybe focus your mind on leading to the best outcomes. Like, if you're going to start, like, I'm thinking starting a podcast, right? Like
Yeah.
that was something that we had talked about, but do we really do it?
Uh-huh.
Are selling our stuff and moving to the coast. It's
Mhm.
personal growth. Do we do it? And even though we did sort of go, okay, what's worst case scenario? I know I was focused on, in both of those situations, on what is the best outcome.
Yeah.
Because I
Mhm.
knew, okay, if I move to the coast, I don't know what we're going to do for work. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to eat. I don't know how we're going to do anything, but I know that I am going to be well because I'm going to be by the ocean.
Yeah.
All of this stuff that we have doesn't matter anymore. This is going to be a good thing. And it was almost like I was hyper focused on the good of it.
Which is pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did turn out good too.
It did. I mean, you shouldn't be naive,
Right.
but it did work out in our situation.
Yeah. Well, when fear does become debilitating, which is easily done,
Yeah.
you gotta know when to seek help. Sometimes, with unhealthy fear, you can get chronic anxiety, and seeking professional help is essential at that point because that will put you out of commission.
It's like my therapist reminds me a lot that my anxiety is not present. It's always a fear of what's coming,
Yeah.
or it is anxiety about something in the past.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of how I try to look at fear. Like if I'm scared about something, I'm like, but wait a minute, that hasn't even happened.
Yeah.
How do I control right now? And then if I'm fearful of something that happened in the past, oh, what if this happens again? Well, could it happen again? Okay, if it could, how can I prepare for it if it does? And then move on and try to live more in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It does remind me a lot about anxiety and what works in therapy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think also when we have episodes like this and talking about things like this normalizes it. So even therapy, normalize therapy or counseling for dealing with fears or dealing with anything in your life that becomes too overwhelming. Like we need to talk about these things more.
Right.
And how often, Jared, do we have episodes where we talk about things that we're dealing with and we haven't talked about, and then we'll get a message from someone going, I've been dealing with that too. I'm so glad you talked about it, because a lot of times, even if you're having a conversation in person, you're going to find that there's other people around who are usually dealing with the same thing you're dealing with.
Yeah, that's right. No doubt.
Yeah. So, I think the biggest thing here, like we said, we'll kind of conclude with, we just think it's important to talk about it.
Yeah. And we hope the episode and honest discussion helps you. I hope you can reflect on the fears holding you back and which ones you need to embrace. Just always have a growth mindset involving fear. Fear will allow you to grow.
Yeah.
If you deal with it right.
If you deal with it right. And like we said, if you have any thoughts or experiences you would like to share with us, we would love to hear from you anytime. You can send us an email at hello@arneradventures.com. You can DM us over on the gram. Go to our website and hit contact, and you can send a message that way. We would love, love, love to hear from you. And we hope that you continue the rest of this day leading with no fear.
That would be nice. Yeah.
It just maybe addressing your fear as it comes up.
Yeah. If this episode resonated with you, or if you know of someone who would benefit from what we talked about, please share it with a friend.
It's a great way of supporting the podcast, and we really appreciate it.
Another way of supporting the pod is by leaving us a 5-star review or rating on the platform you are listening to us on.
And go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That also supports us. You can always find us, the show notes, and sponsors who support the podcast at arneradventures.com.
And until next time, enjoy the journey you're on. We're wishing you lots of adventures.
Bye-bye.